we continue our examination of the state of ihtidar. And we mentioned that the state of ihtidar is the state of dying. It is a challenging moment in the existence of the human being because it is the final trial. Am I attached to this world, or am I willing to let go and meet the next stage that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared for me? And the hadiths indicate that the more a person is attached to this materialistic world, the more difficult letting go will be. And that is why death is painful for a lot of people, because they're so attached to this world that separation for them is too bitter. They're not willing to embrace the new reality, the new stage which Allah has prepared for them. But the more a person lives the environment of the akhirah, anticipating the akhirah, anticipating the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing that he or she has a merciful Lord, the more, the easier death will be, and the less painful it will be. So previously we examined that the person who is dying, teach them to say there is no God but Allah, because Satan will try his best to make this person fail and insert doubts in their mind. And so the hadith from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam states that anytime a person is dying, then Satan will send some of his shayateen, the aides of devils who work under him, in order to cast doubts in the mind of the dying person and to falsely give him the impression that they can save him. Remember the extreme thirst we talked about? A person who's dying experiences extreme thirst. So shaitan comes and he says, do you want me to quench that thirst for you? Thirst like you've never experienced. All you have to do is disbelieve in God, and he puts some doubts in your mind, and I'll help you. Now the one who's weak, the one who's always said yes to shaitan, to his desires, might fail that very important test. But the one who's always been strong. And in that moment, our good deeds come to help us. So the hadith states that prayer, for instance, in that moment will appear in the form of a beautiful figure, warding off the devils. Prayer will say, in your lifetime you observed me, now I help you. Your fast, your pilgrimage, the Wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, which is the biggest protector at the moment of death. All of this will work to save the person from the last blow that shaitan is trying to deal to us. So now the soul starts separating from the body. The actual separation starts. It seems that the soul separates from every single cell in the body until it reaches the throat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in Surah Al-Waqi'ah, verses 83 to 85, فَلَوْلَا إِذَا بَلَغَتِ الْحُلْقُومِ. What's hulqum in Arabic? Throat. Allah says, He's reminding us to think of that moment when the soul reaches the throat. وَأَنْتُمْ حِينَئِذٍ تَنْظُرُونَ. And you, O family members, you're seeing the dying person. وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْكُمْ وَلَكِنْ لَا تُبْصِرُونَ. So the Holy Quran, when it talks about the soul leaving the body and separating, it seems that it's a gradual separation. It's not instant. Gradually, from the lower part of the body, from the feet all the way up to the throat, that's when the soul starts separating. And the dying person feels it. The person who's on their deathbed dying, they feel, okay, now I feel my soul is separating from my feet, then from the upper part, then from the middle part of the body. Then you feel the last moment is the throat, when the soul separates from the body. Yes.
In seconds and minutes.
Okay. Now remember that the world of souls is not limited to the time that we experience here. Time is relative, right? So what we see, as a few seconds, the dying person can feel for days and months. Yes, sometimes time slows down for them. And sometimes it could be the opposite. We see it a very long time, but for the soul it experiences like a breeze. It depends on the circumstances of the person, their rank, their faith, their purity, how much sins they've had. Yeah, so sometimes you see it as just a few minutes, but those few minutes are pretty prolonged. Really prolonged for that person. But what we do know is that it's gradual, meaning it starts from the lower part of the body up to the throat. So now the question is, what about for someone who blows up? Right? People ask the question. Somebody who suddenly dies, blows up. Does this happen? We can assume that time slows down for these people, and yeah, they still feel the separation. For us, it's an instant, half a second. But the person fully experiences the separation of the soul from the body. Or sometimes the soul is taken at once. We do have hadiths about that, especially for the believers. Well, I'll read to you some of the hadiths, but to just give you a synopsis, some hadiths indicate that the believing person who's about to die, they are given a flower to smell. You smell that aromatic flower, suddenly you see your soul departed the body. It's that smooth for some of the believers. So yeah, for some people it could be pretty much instant. But for a lot of people, it is gradual. And the Quran does talk about it. So when the Quran says, remember when the soul will reach the throat, that in itself indicates a state of graduation, where gradually the soul is being separated from the body.